Hello and welcome to the viewers of this video. This is the Orange Fan here, bringing you another entry for the franchise overview category. This video will be dedicated to the franchise of Sega's mascot, Sonic the Hedgehog. Now, there's a good reason why I wanted this video game franchise to be the first covered in the franchise overview. It's quite simply the fact that Sonic the Hedgehog was my very first video game, and the first video game of my brother. You see, for both of us, our first video game system was the Sega Genesis, and it came with Sonic the Hedgehog. It wasn't too long after that we were able to acquire Sonic 2, and later on still, we managed to get both parts of the third entry, Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles, so we were able to play them together as their intended games, Sonic 3 and Knuckles, and we got to play Knuckles and Sonic 2 as well. But yes, we had many games for the Sega Genesis, but the Sonic one was, of course, the main draw for us. We mostly played the Sonic games. Like, at least in Sonic 2 and Sonic 3 and Knuckles, I always was Tails, and my brother was always Sonic during those joint playthroughs, and we had a lot of good memories of that. We even got Sonic 3D Blast, so that was another game we had within the Sonic franchise for the Sega Genesis. Now, the part which deviates for us compared to some fans, but then again, maybe there are some others in the same who had the same path as my brother and I, but after the Sega Genesis, we didn't really get to have much of we never really got to play any of the other Sonic games for the most part. Like, we never had the Sega Saturn or the Dreamcast, although the Dreamcast didn't really last too long. And even after Sega became a third-party developer, so they were available for all the systems, we still never really acquired any of the other Sonic games for whatever reason, because we were never really too familiar with those other characters. Like, for us, Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles were the main trio that we knew very well, and we knew the main villain as Dr. Robotnik rather than Eggman. And actually, the whole naming thing for him could be worthy of another video, so keep an eye out for that. We had a vague familiarity with other characters. Like, we vaguely knew about Amy, although I hear she actually was in... we never had Sonic CD either. That was one of the ones from that era. That older era we never got. And we knew about Shadow and Rouge a little bit, but yeah, we weren't really as familiar with anyone besides the Team Sonic trio and Robotnik or Eggman, whatever you want to call him. And I'm not really sure why we never really got those other Sonic games, really. Now, that's not to say that we never had any other games relating to Sonic, just it wasn't as... we didn't have as many of them compared to beyond the classic Sega Genesis trilogy, if you will, and 3D Blast. Later on, we did acquire some. Like, the most noteworthy is we did acquire the entries for the Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games sub-series or spin-off franchise, whatever you want to call it. Because, hey, Mario versus Sonic in an actual game was just a dream we've always had. We could not pass that up. And they're fun mini games for us. And yeah, we have some other friends or relatives come over and play them too sometimes. And of course, when Sonic appeared in the later entries for Super Smash Bros., that was always fun. We were definitely excited that Sonic got to be in the Super Smash Bros. Franchise. And otherwise, I actually had one of the DS games, Sonic Chronicles: The Dark Brotherhood. And that was apparently Sonic's first go into RPG, in the RPG genre, or his only one. And I actually thought it was a pretty fun game. I mean, maybe not flawless, but it was fun. Like, I like the storytelling anyway. And but that was more or less the game that kind of introduced me to the characters beyond the initial Team Sonic trio and Robotnik or Eggman. And otherwise, though, you may recall earlier on in the channel's run, or at least when the channel was starting the video updates, I did have a news update regarding Sonic Mania, and yeah, I was able to recently acquire that for the Switch. And because, well, like I said before in that video about the news regarding Sonic Mania, it felt like a love letter to the Sega Genesis trilogy that my brother and I grew up with. So it was a game I couldn't pass up the chance to play. So there you have it. I mean, it's an interesting case for me, I'll admit. The Sonic franchise is near and dear to me because it was what got me started in video games. But at the same time, there's still a lot about it that I'm not as familiar with. Like, I mostly was familiar with the Genesis era, the beginning classic era, and recently acquired Sonic Mania. But I did have a few games here or there in between, and well, it's definitely something I might be interested in learning more about. At least I'm willing to learn more about these other characters beyond the ones I'm familiar with and figure out more about other details, I guess you could say. But yeah, it's a very interesting situation, I'll admit. But I have to give the Blue Blur credit. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be into video games. So there you have it. My little, you could expect to see some more Sonic related videos in the future. But yeah, it might be a little different compared to some people who followed along with Sonic's history all throughout the years, or who played all the various games with it. Mine's definitely going to be a different approach or a different viewpoint, just to give any other fellow Sonic fans a heads up. And with that, we've now finished discussing the video game franchise that started my gaming interests. Take care, and until next time.